Wonderful. We are live for this week's discussion. Welcome, everyone. I'm Carmen, your divine synergist of Heart's Joy. I empower you to understand why you're here and how to live on purpose and in divine harmony. I interweave numerology, angel guides, astrology, and coaching to guide you along your journey. And every week I go live here and we have a discussion. This week's discussion will help you understand how everything is connected, that divine harmony that you hear me talk about, and it's quite mind-blowing. I love it when we see how everything's connected. I believe that God created different ways to connect with God depending on who you are and where you are along your journey. My special guest tonight is Melissa Laborski. At the Indie Healing Center, Melissa empowers her patients to rewrite their own healing stories by awakening to the language of physical and emotional symptoms. Through the framework of Chinese medicine, she guides patients to experience how every symptom holds wisdom. Through the tools of acupuncture, herbs, healing foods, and energy exercises, patients open the ability to access this wisdom. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. So I've always been intrigued by the Chinese New Year. And that's when I reached out to you and said, can you teach us this? Can you help us understand and work with these energies? So I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here tonight. So, 2020. Woo! Quite a year. So, 2020 welcomed the year of the rat.
Okay.
Mice, mouse, rat. So if you can imagine what it would be like if a rat came into your house. And then it wasn't just one rat. Just imagine like thousands of rats. Actually, this is a fun fact. I had a rat die in my closet back there 1 week before the Chinese New Year last year.
Oh, my word.
I think so. So if you had rats infest your house, as I did, and had this interesting experience of, okay, I smell it. The patients are going to smell it. What am I going to do about this? How can we find it? Is it up there? No, can't find it up there. Is it down there? No, we can't find it down there. It died inside the wall. And so we just tried to cover up the smell until it's mummified. And I'm not kidding you. Any of my Dragon's Way Qigong patients will be able to testify that this was the truth. So go ahead.
I was just saying, holy cow, I can't even get over that.
Right. So if you can imagine hundreds and thousands of rats infesting inside your house and what that does, like you have, they're turning things inside out. They're bringing up, they've got their own stuff that they bring, but they also bring up your own stuff. So really that's what this past year was all about. So there's another aspect to both the animal and element that I want to tap into today, and it's the element. So every year there's not only an animal, but there's an element that goes along with that. So I'm doing this on purpose because the element of last year, the element of this year is metal.
Metal? So it's the metal ox?
It was metal rat last year. It's metal ox this year.
Got it. Okay.
So if you think about these rats, they weren't regular rats. These are rats that are wearing suits of armor, wielding swords.
That makes sense.
And you notice I'm turning it inside because this is part of what I feel the past year was about. So the metal element is about making very clear choices. You can see back there, wait, I'll move my finger, the Yin Yang. So we always are making choices. One, white, black, left, right, all different sorts of choices with complete clarity. And that's what metal's really, 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 really good at, is helping us to make those very clear choices. What do I want to keep? What do I want to let go of? This is the organ that is our lung and our large intestine. So even when you think of it from an organ perspective, complete clarity has to be had with, I'm breathing in, what am I keeping? What am I letting go of? I'm digesting, what am I keeping? What am I letting go of? So there has to be clarity with those processes, but there's another really, really high level important aspect to it. Those processes have to be high level flexible, because if there's too much restriction, too much tightness, too much regimen, then you have constipation. Then you have all different sorts of issues with being able to fully take a deep breath to the point of having full on asthma. So really, really important to think about. I call it quantum flexibility. Like, I have to make a choice this way or this way, but I have to really tune in to what are all the signals that are impacting my choice to go this direction or this direction.
Got it.
And yeah, metal too is, I'm going to pull in this beautiful thing. Metal is all things that sparkle, all things that we really value, that have to be deep within the earth for a long time to get to that point where their beauty fully shines forth. So this also is about clearing out your shit so you can fully, excuse my language, shine. So last year, to me, feels like those rats and mice were in there. Like, we've got to get in here and clear things out.
Yep.
So this year, we're shifting into this whole new intense force that's also a metal element. But to me, this metal force feels like it's external. It's like, you know, even more than like a sword. It's like the bulldozer, or like a, you know, I don't know, like that full metal armor from like long ago martial arts, when you see like in, I don't know, I watched Kung Fu Panda 1 the other night. Oh, it's like the rhinoceros covered in the metal armor. Woo, woo, woo. So really intense force that's helping us to move forward.
Okay.
Because we have to clear out that quote unquote debris that we brought up from the year before, because it's so intensely important that we bring forth our spirit into this next year.
And is this in a certain system in our body, like the digestive system, or is, yeah?
So, I mean, everything's connected.
Yeah.
So even though we speak of this year as being a metal year, does that mean we need to ignore all the rest of the elements? No, not at all, not at all.
Okay.
But because it is a metal year, it really is going to call attention to our metal elements. So if you have underlying issues in your lung and your large intestine, which are connected to your skin, for instance, you may see more issues coming up, not because, sometimes because there's something stuck, but always because even if there is something stuck, it's trying to clear out. You may see more things that are coming up in that way, because it's like, whew, we got to get this out. We got to get this out.
That actually makes a lot of sense when I so from a numerology standpoint, I'm sitting here thinking about, this is a numerology number 5 year. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus, well, 2021 plus 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 equals 5. And part of the 5 is a lot of energy. It's a high energy number. So as you're saying that, clearing out, that's what I'm thinking about right now. That's the energies that we're going to experience.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, because we have our new year, January 1st, and then the Chinese New Year is in February. How was that determined?
So it doesn't always fall in February. It falls somewhere between mid-January and the end of February, and it all depends on the lunar cycle. So the Chinese New Year is also known as the Lunar New Year. So I'm not exactly sure when they determine it, but it's considered to be the first day of spring. So from this bigger picture perspective, you have the beginning of spring, when the energies of spring first start to wake up, because in order to create the big transformation we see in March, there's a lot that has to happen. Even under, here we are in Indiana, heaps of snow, it's still happening. There are buds on the trees. If you go outside right now, there are robins trying to eat something, and there are buds on trees, because spring is coming. It's rising up to that full force expressive. So it's the invisible, what I was touching to in my post today, that invisible yin to the yang, which are both important, powerful forces to create the full picture.
Got it. I always wondered that because I always felt like we got a couple of different new beginnings, if you will, or new years, almost back to back. And then for me, with the numerology piece, we have personal years that go from birthday to birthday. So for me, that's the beginning of another cycle, kind of like you were talking about the beginning of the lunar cycle as well. So, by the way, if you have a question, we have some people who are tuning in. So, thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions for either one of us about the Chinese New Year, about Chinese medicine, about you called it the metal, what do you call it? Just metal year of the ox, metal ox?
Year of the metal ox.
Year of the metal ox. Please drop those below. I have found this so fascinating. I've had acupuncture before. I understand enough to be dangerous about how things are connected, mind, body, spirit, with the chakras, with all the energy centers. And that's why I asked you to come on and just share this with us, because I feel like there's power in knowing, having this information, so that then we can work with the energies itself.
Yeah.
I do know with a number 5 year, there's going to be travel and change and transformation. And how can you equate that with this for the Chinese New Year?
I was going to touch on that. This is from a slightly different angle that I have perspective on because of my teacher. So I have been trained to look at the energy. There's a lot of ways of looking at what's called the bakwa.
Okay.
An 8-sided structure that is the basis of the I Ching. There's one structure, one healing way of looking at it that, like, every time I go to a retreat, we all sit in this octagonal structure. We choose a number, 1 through 8. So the number 5 in that healing structure is gallbladder.
Okay.
So when I talked about this idea that we have to make a choice, right? Looking back at my Yin Yang, the gallbladder energy is that line in between the choices.
Okay.
And on the body, the gallbladder is a phenomenal energy line. So it's a little hard to see, but the gallbladder energy line starts here on the eye, and it zigzags, 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 all the way down to the 4th toe. So if you think about an energy, a life force, a spirit that is connecting into how we are literally connecting into and conducting life moment to moment, how we make those kinds of moment to moment choices. Are we frozen? Are we chaotic? Are we following some sort of flow? So there's one way of seeing it. The other really magical, highly spiritual thing is that gallbladder energy line that I spoke of has a very special relationship with, I'm not going to show it on the doll because it's hard to see, but with an energy line that runs from our ring finger, and it goes and it curves right around the ear. So the gallbladder kind of cups around here, and that other energy line called the sanjiao cups here. So this energy line, the sanjiao, is the only energy line in the body that doesn't have an organ system that it's anchored to. So it's considered to be like the free dragon spiritual energy line. It goes to every level in the body, but then connects us to life source on the outside. So this one and that gallbladder line have a really close connection. So you could almost think like this is receiving and communicating directly to the gallbladder. So one of the things I would encourage all of you, if you go to my website, IndieHealingCenter.com, there are some energy exercises to help all of us in this time for any purpose. And one of the exercises, you go like this. Looks really simple. You take the pad of your thumb and you massage those points down the head. Part of the purpose is there's just so much for all of us that's happening in this zone right now. So it helps to soothe, connect, get the flow moving in those energy lines.
Awesome.
It's very, very powerful that, and numerology aligns with the fact that it's not just metal. We also have this other side of things that's coming in to help really align us spirit to body.
Yeah. We have a question. Does the Chinese New Year begin with the full moon in February? I think it began last Friday, right? With full
Yes,
moon?
the Chinese New Year began on February the 12th of this year.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have another question. Is this a good year to launch a new business with minimal financial resources?
I don't know how to answer that question because that's it.
For me, I'm gonna say I'd like to look at the numerology. I'd like to look at the personal year, and then I can break it down into each month
Mhm.
to see. That's a lot of how I base mine on. Plus that and the astrological alignments as well. So I'm not sure how that would work with the Chinese New Year, with the Chinese energy there.
Yeah, I mean, energetically, I do believe that. There's two metal years in a row, and I think last year was the Yang year, and this year is the Yin year. And there's something that I'm kind of feeling, and I'm not saying that this because everybody is individual. I mean, that's really my experience is like if it's your year to start a business, it doesn't matter what animal, what element, what numerology. It's like it's your year and it's gonna happen. But energetically, it feels like there's a bit of an intensity of forces. And I mean, you could look at this just literally, like it's been intense for everybody.
Yeah.
So as we are here shifting into spring, and we all should be growing, we all should be creating, we all should be blooming. But if your internal resources have been depleted because of stress, there's not going to be as much to be able to support that transformative change. So it's something that I think each person's going to have to look at. I think it's possible that there are people that are going to have incredible transformative changes. And I think there's a lot of people that are going to have a tough time at both the physical level and at the life experience level of being able to break through and not experience a lot of stagnation as spring arrives.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right. So I love all this goodness. I could sit here and talk for hours about this. What else can you share with us for this? And actually, before we go into that, so how do you know ahead of time when the next New Year is? Because you were saying that it kind of all depends. So how far in advance do you know? And how is it predicted when it's the ox versus the rat versus another animal?
So that's important. There are 12 animals in the zodiac.
Okay.
So the rat was number one.
Oh.
Number one, we haven't been in the beginning of a 12-year cycle in 12 friggin' years. That's a big deal. And for everything that rat brought us, it's a big deal. It's really trying to stir up a lot. And for the ox, let me see if I can pull it up quickly. I have this.
Melissa, that is not a coincidence.
No, it's not a coincidence.
That's what I want everybody to understand. That is not a coincidence. Last year was the beginning of a 10+ year cycle in general. So whatever wasn't working last year was starting to crumble for us to create new.
Yes, yeah. And I love this is a book. I don't think I gave it to you, but it's the Handbook of Chinese Horoscopes, Theodora Lau and Laura Lau. I like this as a reference, but there's poetry at the beginning of every chapter.
Okay.
And the way they describe, just in general, any year of the ox, which is always number 2, so where we're at now, mine is the stabilizing force that perpetuates the cycle of life. I stand immobile against the test of adversity, resolute and unimpeachable. I seek to serve integrity, to bear the burdens of righteousness. I abide by the laws of nature, patiently pushing the wheel of fate. Thus I shall weave my destiny. Like, wow.
Wow.
No small thing what the ox is harnessing, what taking on, pushing forth for us as we start this, we take what the last year gave us and move on forward through the cycle.
That visual reminds me of what you posted on Instagram earlier today. Let me see if I can find it and pull it up and share it. Do you mind speaking into that a little bit?
Yeah, yeah. So I was January 29th. I was at the art museum in Indianapolis, Newfields, with my daughter and her friend, and I just turned my head and I saw this sculpture, and I was just breathtaking. Um, and now, especially because of you and I, you have to go and look at it again because there's an angel.
Oh, my angel. I was like,
And
I
if
need
you
to
look,
find out what's going on here.
yeah, there's so many levels in that sculpture where you see this ox that's just like, I'm going this way. And sitting backwards is supposed to be this goddess Europa. The ox is supposed to be Zeus in ox form, like he's abducting her. Like that's what's happening. But I didn't know that until I looked it up because when you look at this image, it's like, look at her. She's like, of course, this is the direction I'm heading, even though I'm facing backwards. And the angel's wings mirror the ox's horns, mirror the angle of the tail. And she's just like, mm-hmm. I know what's happening. This is all part of my bigger process. This is fine. I'm not going to fight this. So I loved this. And in addition, I don't have full, and maybe you have more insight into this. I've heard people speak to the age of Aquarius and all this kind of thing. So she was being taken. She's riding on an ox on the ocean. So
I saw that with the dolphins.
the sculptor, the dolphins underneath the ox to help try to embody the fact that they're supposed to be on water. So that was interesting too. Okay, now that I think about that, because here we are, we're in metal, and then next year will be the first year that we go to water. And that's no small thing too, we've been 2 years in metal and we're going to be shifting to this new essence, this new life force, this new reservoir of potential that happens when we enter 2022. Think about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tiger, which is a whole nother bag of chips, but we're not there yet. So we got to be with the yachts.
So in my experience, if whatever lessons we don't learn, they continue to get louder and louder, bigger and bigger, worse and worse each time. And so if we didn't learn whatever lesson it was that year, that's going to come with you in the next year as well. And it may be that you experience that lesson in a different way,
right?
Based on, the elements at play.
Exactly.
So, oh my gosh. Yeah. When you showed me that, I was like, yeah, I love all of it. So what else can you share with us about what can we expect? How can we work with these energies?
Yeah. So if you think about, you can call it lots of things. Ox, bull, cow. It's all part of the same animal.
Okay.
In order to do what they do in the world, in order to digest as they digest, they have anywhere, 4+ stomachs in order to be able to do all that digesting. So this goes to a different element, which is the earth element. And from this bigger, expansive perspective, we need our earth element to help us digest and process everything. So the stomach and the spleen, earth helps us receive, process, digest, and then transform. So we are in a year where that essence is more abundant. We really need to nurture and tap into that because we have all this stuff that got stirred up. We got to digest it. So when I talk about digesting, I don't just mean your food. I mean all the emotions, anything physically that you're working on, anything that, if you're making big plans in your life that you're taking on, all that has to be processed. Otherwise it just gets stuck here. So this is going to be an important year for really getting out of that rumination cycle so that you can move forward. So that's part of what I tapped on in that post was like, we're going to have these phases where you're going to need to pause and you're going to need to go deep and you're going to need to make sure that you can't just rush ahead. You got to digest and process it. But it's really, really, really going to be important for us to nurture and digest during this year. The stomach energy is the foundation of our immune system too. So when we think about the ongoing, concerns about COVID and everything else, raising that energy foundation, because it's all about, can you digest what's showing up in your right now moment, which includes a virus. right? That's here. That's our buddy right now. Can we raise this foundation so we no longer allow that to come in? So there are lots of tips on ways that you can do that on my website as well.
Okay.
But just in general, the digestive energy, very, very simply, the stomach loves to be warm. So, just especially, it's easy right now when it's cold outside to say like, oh yes, I would love a nice cup of tea. But in general, in our society, we tend to drink too much cold that automatically can shock that stomach energy down. And we really need to be doing everything we can to nurture that. Adding ginger, warming things to the teas that you drink are another way, but also just getting clarity about things that you might bringing to the surface, things that you may not realize that you've been ruminating on, that it's time, okay, we're ready. It's time to move forward.
I'm laughing because there's multiple people that I follow and they all say the same thing. This is the year of disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
This is the year of disclosure. And again, that goes back to a lot of different things. When you look at, the planetary energies, the astrology, this Chinese medicine, when you look at the numerology pieces, there's going to be things that come up for review. So.
Yeah. Big two. I don't know if I can turn it and show my picture. Maybe I'll just pull it off the wall.
For those of you listening real quick, 5 and numerology is change. So we're going to experience a lot of change. 5 is a lot of energies, travel as well. And I always like to tell people, think outside the box with travel. We don't necessarily physically have to go anywhere. There's all sorts of different ways that we can travel. Okay, what do you have?
Oh, yeah, no. So, yeah.
Nice.
Yes. So back on December the 22nd.
Yes.
Yeah. So when we had the solstice, we also had the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn.
Yep.
So looking at that from this Chinese consciousness perspective, Jupiter is the energy of our liver, which is the energy of spring, which is the energy of breakthrough and expansion and helping us to handle and process stress, emotions, all of that. It's big and expansive. And Saturn is the energy of our digestive system. So that conjunction is about them in connection and cooperation, which in 5-element consciousness is one of the most important relationships in processing life. Like what I was just talking about. It's not just about your stomach. It's about that other energy that can come in to help you with that processing. So again, it kind of goes to what is showing up to support us to take on all this big stuff. And everything is aligning to try to support us taking it to a whole new level.
I love it. I totally love it. And it's almost like when you do look at those 2 planetary energies, it's almost like the polar opposites, as you were saying, the yin yang, when you really dive into them too. So, well, I'm going to see if anybody has any other questions. And while we're waiting for those questions, hang on. Jennifer said, are you saying it's important to travel? Like we should. So great question. Just know that you're going to be feeling that. It's the energy of a 5 that you're going to have the feeling, the wanting, the needing to travel. And I have a friend who, she is now doing events online to travel virtually to different places since we have certain restrictions right now. So some people are kind of hung up on the restrictions, and I invite everybody to what are the possibilities around that. So just know it's an energy. We may be really itching to get outside, itching to travel, itching to move. It's definitely a high energy time. Great question. All right, Melissa, where can everyone find you?
My website is ndhealingcenter.com. I'm also on Instagram at ndhealingcenter. And then you can find me on Facebook as Indie Healing Center. I also am part of the Conscious Community Collaborative, and we had an amazing event about the Chinese New Year last Thursday, and we have an upcoming event on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
17th, that will be our anniversary. So you can find out more about that at empoweredstories.org or follow us on Instagram at empoweryourstory.
Wonderful. I'm trying to drop those links in here. If not, I'll drop them afterwards so everybody has them. And then there was another event you had coming up on April 13th.
Yes, yeah. So the foundation of everything I do here is a class called Dragon's Way Qigong. So through that 6-week class, I integrate Chinese energy exercise, which is a way of diving into everything we've been talking about. How can you jumpstart processing at the level of energy in your body? And how can you align your energy body to spirit to be able to download, receive everything you need?
Nice.
And ways to, just tap into the consciousness of everything we've been talking about, each of the different organ systems, how to know what they're saying when they're talking, how to respond to them. So that class is a 6-week intensive that begins April 13th. Yes.
You say 6 week?
6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can find out more on my website at Indie Healing Center under the little tab that's about Dragon's Way.
Awesome. I dropped those links in there as well. And if they didn't make it through somehow, we'll be sure to drop those in there for everybody. And you also have a YouTube channel, correct?
I do. Yes, I have a YouTube channel at Indie Healing Center.
Okay, so everybody be sure to go to that YouTube channel, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications. So as she starts to share more videos out there on that channel, you can also follow along. I'm going to go ahead and share some things as well. I do offer a meditation cafe, all virtual, and monthly memberships that are really focused on living from your soul, living from your heart, and understanding, just like this, how everything is connected. How everything's connected. Man, when I first learned that a few years ago, my mind was completely just absolutely blown away, because I could use different things, different modalities, to have a different experience. And ultimately for me, it's the same connection. So, and I like the different perspectives. That's just me. So, well, let's see if anybody has any other questions. Do you have anything to add before we hop off?
No, I mean, I just would encourage you, if this is something that interests you, explore my website. When the pandemic opened up everything, I just made it an incredible resource in and of itself. Many ways to explore from many different angles, from women's health to men's health to, all different levels of spirituality. So
I love it. That's what I love about it. You bring it all together. I love it.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for taking time to join in this discussion. And I'll be back next week. And basically, it's whatever I hear from my guides of what is wanted and needed at that particular time. So always stay tuned. Thank you all so much for joining. And we'll see you next week, next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you.
Thank you.